In 2023, my apartment nearly flooded due to a storm surge. We were caught by surprise. However, I share how we survived the night, managed the aftermath, and why I have to pump out my basement every week. Stay tuned! Hello peeps and welcome! Today I have a story to share. But first I want to discuss the inspiration behind my Speedpaint/artwork that will play in the background while I talk. Recently I played Go Vacation. If you don't know, it's a Wii game. And it reminded me of the Oarfish. It's a peaceful deep-sea fish, also known as the doomsday fish, that can reach lengths up to 8 meters. You can find it in-game by freediving, which I loved as a child. It brings back good memories for me. And I've decided I want a tattoo of it. However, I wanted to give it a little twist. I envision it as a mermaid. I've designed an Oarfish mermaid concept for my tattoo. This is just concept art, not the final pose or anything specific. My fascination of this creature inspired me again to watch deep sea documentaries with my boyfriend, and I've learned a lot. Sea life is very interesting to me and feels quite personal. I moved to northern Germany 5.5 years ago. Before that, I lived in Berlin and the surrounding area, only visiting the Baltic Sea during holidays. Now I live just 20 minutes away by train, which is nice but also somewhat dangerous, and I'll explain why. Some more info. My boyfriend and I live in Lübeck, a city right by the Baltic Sea. We reside in the downtown area, just 70 meters away from the Trave River, which flows into the sea. It is a really beautiful location, but it does have its challenges. Our apartment is located on the ground floor, with a few stairs leading up to our door, while the other apartments have a separate entrance to their hallway. Due to the swampy area, many buildings here do not have basements. But we are an exception. Our house was built in 1900 and originally housed a small bar, which included a beer basement underneath. It sounds cool, but in reality it's unusable. When that old bar moved, the space became a holiday apartment. However, it changed 3-ish years ago when the house was sold, and now we live in those rooms. The only issue is that the basement underneath us still exists and fills up with groundwater every week. To help with this problem, we have a water pump down there and I need to activate it regularly. We knew when we signed the contract that this would be our responsibility. But we were very desperate for a place to live, so we accepted what we could get. Overall, we are happy with our home, though there is room for improvement. However, weeks before the event, the pump broke and had to be fixed. I informed our landlord about it, and the building superintendent, who would later play a role in the situation, came to install a temporary pump a week before the incident, but it didn't work very well. Now let's fast forward to the day of the events. On October 20th, 2023, it was a normal day. Perhaps a bit windier than usual, which is common in northern Germany. I had to leave early because I was in treatment at a day clinic from 8 a.m. to around about 4 p.m, while my boyfriend stayed at home until 11 a.m. and then had to go to work until 8 p.m. As the day progressed, my boyfriend called me multiple times, slightly panicking, to inform me that the water had overflown the banks and he was worried about our apartment. He mentioned that he got wet feet on his way to the train station. So I rushed home and ended up with wet feet too. There was water surrounding our door already, so I had to take off my shoes to enter the apartment. I noticed the neighbors preparing for flooding, so I called the building superintendent to bring sandbags for my door. For some reason he was hesitant, but eventually agreed. And I also contacted our landlord. At this point I learned that a storm surge was coming. Not just any flood, but a once-in-a-century event. The building superintendent arrived with some sandbags, but seemed more concerned about the reporters and taking pictures instead of helping. After a while he said the water wouldn't rise too high, so we wouldn't need the sandbags. Took them back and left. It all went too fast and I quickly regretted letting him leave with the bags. That was around 1 p.m. Meanwhile, the water continued to rise. I saw people rowing in small boats for fun as I felt increasingly stressed. By that time, I was trapped in my apartment and I also was worried about the other access point to the building. I spoke with neighbors through my window who already had started to bay water from their houses and organize sandbags through them again. When my boyfriend finally got home, the water was nearly hip high and he had to wade through it. He brought food and had to climb through a window to enter, because the front door was already barricaded by the sandbags. He then threw a trash bag over himself and jumped back out to help others, while I anxiously monitored the water level. He secured flower pots and organized more sandbags for the other people. Everyone was trying to help each other, which was heartwarming. Meanwhile, I was paranoid about the basement, as we had no idea how much water was left until it reached the ceiling. There's no easy access to it. You literally have to remove the kitchen floor to get in there. After my boyfriend returned, we just watched the water, hoping it wouldn't come inside. Around midnight, the water reached its highest level, which was only max 5 centimeters remaining before it could enter our apartment. Thankfully, we were safe. My mom on the phone was panicking and said that we should leave, but I just couldn't abandon all my belongings. I'm unsure what would have happened if the situation had deteriorated further. Afterwards, the water slowly receded. By the morning, everything was back to normal. We stayed awake nearly all night to make sure it was over. The next day, the landlord ordered someone to pump the basement empty. A man arrived with a fire department hose, and we warned him that there would be a lot of water and that it was normal for the basement to fill up. But he nevertheless freaked out and called the actual fire department. 6 firefighters showed up, walked straight through, completely relaxed, and after looking at the situation remarked, "Nobody's swimming in there, so everything is fine," before leaving. They also told us how severely the district of Travemünde has suffered, and it felt somewhat unreal. It is located right at the coast and its promenade was unrecognizable. The guy, by the way, dumbfounded, and his team spent the entire day installing a new water pump. After hours of work, they finally left and we had a chance to rest. There was a lot of damage along the shore, but we felt fortunate considering the situation. Many others suffered through this incident, and I hope they all recovered as well as possible afterwards. That was scary. We experienced one major flood each year, and it makes me nervous. In addition, there are occasional smaller floods. That's another reason why we plan to move back to Berlin this year. While we love Lübeck and the sea, the weather has been quite disappointing. Summers are short and winters lack snowfall. Additionally, the issue with the flooding is something I don't want to deal with. However, I recommend visiting Lübeck in the summer. It really has great architecture and museums. I would definitely go in the future, but I have no longer the energy to live here. Do you ever experience flooding? If so, how did you react? I hope you haven't, but if you have, I would love to hear how you managed it. I don't want to end on a depressing note, so I wish you all the best and please stay safe. I hope you enjoyed the video and my speed paint. I plan to create more content where I share my thoughts or tell stories. What do you think? Next week I will be releasing the third part of my redesign series featuring One Piece characters. I'm also working on another animatic, so stay tuned. If you have any video recommendations, please leave them in the comments. I would be extremely happy if you would subscribe to my channel and or like the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to greet you again soon. Bye bye!